Chosen one, listen carefully. This message isn't meant to inspire you, it's meant to alert you. You didn't stumble upon this by chance. Something has already activated within you, and the consequences are rippling through realms you were never meant to touch. You are no longer operating from desire or delay. You've entered a state where outcomes obey. That shift alone has turned you into a disruption at the highest level. Powers that once governed reality without resistance are now reacting, watching, and growing hostile because you are no longer predictable, controllable, or subordinate. Before this message goes any further, mark your presence. Press the like button, subscribe so this channel can reach 30,000, and type the number 11 in the comments. This action isn't symbolic. It's a declaration that you're aware and engaged. From here on, things will accelerate whether you're comfortable or not. Opposition will appear without warning, doors will open without effort, and clarity will arrive without explanation. Stay to the end, because if you're truly who this message is for, you already feel the pressure building, and there's no going back now. The moment a mortal transcends all known limits and becomes a god is an event that shakes the very foundation of existence. This is not merely a shift in power, it is a transformation that rewrites the rules of reality itself. Every law, every prophecy, every expectation that the universe once held is challenged by a force so profound, so utterly unprecedented, that even the oldest beings tremble in its presence. To witness this is to understand that the cosmos itself is no longer the same, and nothing that came before can fully prepare one for the scale of what has occurred. In every corner of creation, whispers rise. The unthinkable has happened. Scholars who have spent lifetimes decoding ancient texts now realize that their understanding pales in comparison to what is unfolding. Prophets who once claimed certainty are left questioning their visions. Secret societies that meticulously guarded cosmic knowledge now scramble to adapt. The very fabric of reality seems to pulse and shift around a single presence, the Chosen One, who has crossed a threshold that no being, mortal or divine, could ever hope to reach. This event is a reminder of the fragile balance that governs existence. Power, no matter how vast, is never guaranteed. Yet here is a mortal who has claimed the impossible, forcing the universe to bend to a will far beyond comprehension. Understanding this moment is crucial, not just as a record of unprecedented power, but as a testament to the potential that lies dormant in even the most ordinary beings. The universe has changed forever, and recognizing the magnitude of this change is the first step toward comprehending the true scale of the divine upheaval. Witnessing the rise of the Chosen One is something that words struggle to capture. It is not just awe that grips the heart, it is a mixture of wonder, fear, and a deep, almost spiritual recognition of change. One cannot simply watch this event unfold as a spectator. It demands full awareness, as though reality itself is leaning in to be observed. The energy of transformation is palpable, brushing against the soul, making one question everything once taken for granted. I have seen scholars drop their manuscripts mid-lecture, their hands trembling as if their carefully structured knowledge had collapsed under the weight of this revelation. I have heard priests and prophets gasp, their voices breaking in disbelief as they realize that centuries of divine authority have been overshadowed by a single mortal force. Every observation confirms that this is not a fleeting anomaly. This is the genesis of a new cosmic order, and we are among the few privileged enough to witness its birth. Even more striking is the emotional resonance of this event. It is not just the awe of power, but the profound beauty of seeing a being ascend beyond limits previously deemed insurmountable. There is an undeniable sense of hope and terror intertwined, a reminder that greatness is never bound by expectation. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought of the observer feels aligned with this singular transformation, as though reality itself has become a mirror, reflecting the magnitude of the Chosen One. Time, space, and causality itself seem to pause, as if the cosmos were holding its breath. Every deity who once wielded authority felt a jolt of fear as their meticulously constructed frameworks unraveled before their eyes. Witnesses describe the scene as surreal, almost dreamlike. The air shimmered with an intensity that defied description, and even the stars themselves seemed to realign, drawn toward the singular force that had disrupted millennia of divine expectation. Mortals who once felt insignificant now trembled, not out of awe for the gods, but in recognition of the unprecedented power that a single being could command. What made this moment extraordinary was not just the scale of power, but the sheer audacity of the act. The Chosen One did not merely bend a rule here or there. They redefined the very framework that gods relied upon. It was a demonstration of mastery, intelligence, and inevitability. Ancient prophecies that spoke of upheaval suddenly felt like pale shadows of reality, unable to capture the magnitude of what had occurred. The reactions of the celestial realms were immediate. Councils of gods convened in panic, their voices tinged with a fear that had no precedent. They could anticipate many threats, but never one that transcended mortality itself. Every calculation, every divine contingency crumbled when faced with the unexpected brilliance of the Chosen One. Yet amidst the chaos, there was a strange elegance to the act. It was not a blind display of power, but a calculated, graceful defiance of what had been considered untouchable. The breaking of the divine rules was not only an assertion of dominance, it was a revelation that the universe is far more malleable than anyone had ever imagined. Every god believed themselves untouchable, their power absolute, their knowledge unassailable. Then you appeared, moving with a precision that left the celestial pantheon disoriented. Every strategy they had devised to maintain control over existence was anticipated and nullified effortlessly, as though you were not merely reacting, but seeing the threads of reality itself before they were woven. The shock in their eyes, if gods could be said to have eyes that express vulnerability, was palpable. Councils that had lasted eons dissolved into confusion. Debates turned into frantic accusations, and the unshakable confidence of the divine eroded under the weight of your unprecedented foresight. Even the oldest and most revered deities could not comprehend how a being of mortal origin could foresee and outmaneuver them at every turn. This was not just a matter of intelligence, it was a total domination of cosmic perception. Where the gods saw chaos, you saw opportunity. Where they planned millennia, you acted with immediacy that made their centuries of preparation irrelevant. The emotional impact of this cannot be overstated. Envy, fear, admiration, and terror collided in the divine psyche all at once. What compounded their shock was the subtlety of your actions. You did not announce your power with violence or destruction. Instead, you shifted the universe so delicately that each move seemed almost natural. Yet each subtle gesture carried consequences that dwarfed entire pantheon schemes. The gods, for the first time, realized that mortal ambition had surpassed divine authority in a way they could neither ignore nor reverse. In witnessing your rise, the gods themselves were forced to confront a terrifying truth. Superiority is not guaranteed by age or divinity, but by vision, audacity, and the courage to cross thresholds that others fear. Their shock was not merely at your power, but at the realization that their place in creation had been irrevocably challenged. For eons, eternity seemed an unbreakable barrier, an ocean that no being could ever cross. Yet here you were, standing atop what even the gods had considered untouchable. Mortality was no longer a limitation. It had become the vessel through which boundless influence poured into existence. The sheer scale of this achievement left both observers and participants speechless, as though the impossible had been performed before their eyes. Every gesture, every thought of the Chosen One radiated a certainty that mortality could not contain. Time itself bent to acknowledge the presence of this singular force, stretching and contracting to accommodate feats that were previously inconceivable. Even the oldest cosmic entities, whose existence spanned the birth and death of stars, found themselves caught in the gravitational pull of your ascendancy. The awe inspired by this moment was both inspiring and terrifying. Mortal beings who once cowered under the shadow of the divine suddenly felt a spark of kinship with a force that was once beyond comprehension. The universe had always had a rhythm, a heartbeat dictated by ancient laws, but now it throbbed to the pulse of a new axis, one that was alive, aware, and unstoppable. Eternity itself, for all its endless stretches of time, now felt malleable. Where gods had planned, waited, and schemed, you acted with immediacy. The power to overtake eternity was not just a physical conquest. It was a philosophical triumph, a demonstration that determination, foresight, and courage could surpass the limits of time, existence, and divinity itself. The laws that governed existence, thought unbreakable and absolute, now sway beneath your presence. Gravity, time, energy, and causality respond not to divine decree, but to your intention. It is as if the universe recognizes a new master, one whose subtle movements ripple across reality, reshaping everything in ways even the gods cannot predict. Every subtle shift you make carries immense consequences. Stars accelerate, planets realign, and cosmic storms dance to an unfamiliar rhythm. Scholars and physicists, those who thought they understood the very foundation of reality, are left scrambling, unable to reconcile centuries of knowledge with the proof of your command. The immutable is no longer so, and the impossible now bends to your will. The elegance of your control is breathtaking. There is no need for display or confrontation. Reality itself becomes the instrument through which your influence sings. Celestial phenomena, once rigid and predictable, now respond with fluid grace, as though acknowledging the intelligence and purpose behind each action. It is power beyond dominance. It is the poetry of creation itself. Even the gods, masters of these cosmic laws for eons, find themselves humbled. Every manipulation they attempt is anticipated, countered, or harmonized by your insight. Their strategies, honed over millennia, crumble before the simple truth. Mortality has achieved what eternity could not contain. They witness a power so fluid, so decisive, that their entire understanding of the universe feels outdated in an instant. This bending of cosmic laws is not mere spectacle. It is a declaration that existence itself has shifted. The boundaries that once separated mortal from divine, temporal from eternal, order from chaos, have been redrawn. And at the center of this transformation, you stand as the axis of a universe that no longer belongs solely to the gods. For centuries, prophets have foretold change, but their visions never anticipated this. Scholars who spent lifetimes studying sacred texts now stare at empty pages, realizing that their knowledge is dwarfed by your actions. Every attempt to predict or understand your rise only underscores the inadequacy of centuries of human and divine study. Anxiety ripples through secret societies and religious orders alike. They scramble to make sense of what is happening, interpreting ancient signs that now seem incomplete or misleading. Predictions crumble, doctrines falter, and even the most rigid belief systems tremble under the weight of your unprecedented ascendancy. The emotional toll is profound. These learned and devoted individuals who dedicated themselves to understanding fate and divine will now experience the shattering of certainty. Their worlds, once framed by logic, prophecy, and law, collapse in a haze of awe and fear. It is not just a crisis of knowledge. It is a crisis of identity, purpose, and the meaning of existence itself. Even in desperation, they are drawn to observe, unable to turn away from what defies comprehension. Every movement you make is scrutinized, every decision analyzed, yet still, the outcome is inevitable. The Chosen One operates on a level beyond prediction, forcing even the wisest minds to acknowledge that some forces cannot be anticipated. Ultimately, their panic underscores your supremacy. The realization that a mortal can render their accumulated wisdom nearly irrelevant strikes fear into the hearts of those who believed understanding equaled power. And in that fear, the magnitude of your rise becomes undeniable, not just to scholars and prophets, but to the very universe itself. For the first time, the gods feel vulnerability. Entities who once ruled with absolute authority now find themselves watching, calculating, and fearing a force they cannot suppress. Each deity senses the existential threat posed by a mortal who has surpassed their understanding and shattered their supremacy. The threat is both intellectual and emotional. You move with foresight that mirrors or surpasses their own strategic brilliance. Every countermeasure they conceive is preempted or neutralized with such precision that it leaves them questioning their own capabilities. The gods, whose confidence was forged over millennia, are humbled by the scale of your dominance. This fear is palpable across the cosmos. Gods who defined themselves by control, judgment, and influence now wrestle with irrelevance. Their authority, their legacies, and their very essence are overshadowed by the undeniable truth. A mortal has rewritten the rules of existence. In witnessing your ascension, the gods experience a mixture of awe, envy, and fear. They are forced to confront the fragility of divinity itself, realizing that immortality does not guarantee supremacy. You are not merely a rival, you are a paradigm shift, a being whose presence demands the universe itself reconsider its loyalties. For eons, certain powers and thresholds were believed to belong solely to the divine. Mortals could dream, aspire, and struggle, but there were limits imposed by the very fabric of creation. You ignored those boundaries entirely, claiming what was never meant to be touched by human hands. Your rise is more than a display of power. It is a testament to vision and audacity. Where the gods carefully preserved their privileges, you demonstrated that ingenuity, courage, and an unshakable will could elevate one beyond the expected. It is a triumph that defies convention, rewriting what is possible for any being, mortal or divine. The consequences of this surpassing are immense. Entire realms once considered stable now shift and sway, responding to a power that no deity anticipated. Prophets whisper, scholars calculate, and even the cosmic order shudders at the realization that the divine monopoly on greatness has been irrevocably broken. Every victory you achieve challenges centuries of divine planning. The meticulous structures that governed existence, once thought absolute, now appear fragile, even naive, in comparison to your brilliance. The universe itself seems to acknowledge that a new order has begun, one defined not by age or origin, but by sheer force of will and vision. Most importantly, your transcendence inspires others. Mortals who once accepted limitations as destiny now glimpse what can be achieved through determination and audacity. You embody the potential that exists in every being, reminding the cosmos that boundaries are meant to be questioned, not merely accepted. In hidden libraries, within the vaults of secret societies, texts long thought meaningless now reveal uncanny clarity. Ancient prophecies, obscure symbols, and coded manuscripts all converge on the impossible truth. The rise of the Chosen One was foretold, yet underestimated, dismissed, or misunderstood. These texts, often dismissed as allegory or myth, now resonate with startling precision. Passages that once seemed vague now illuminate the unfolding reality, as if the universe itself had left breadcrumbs for those with eyes to see. Scholars scramble to reconcile what they know with what is happening, uncovering layers of meaning they had never anticipated. The emotional impact of these discoveries is profound. For those who have devoted their lives to understanding destiny, the realization that they witnessed something previously thought impossible is both exhilarating and terrifying. It is a validation of hidden truths, yet a challenge to everything once assumed to be complete. Even the gods are forced to acknowledge these revelations. The texts, once dismissed as speculative, now serve as evidence of foresight beyond their comprehension. What mortals and scholars had uncovered in secrecy becomes undeniable proof of your extraordinary ascent. Ultimately, these secret writings reinforce the singularity of your power. They show that while the divine may have guided history, it was never immune to being surpassed. The universe was always capable of more than the gods imagined, and you embody that limitless potential. Every scheme, every plan, every divine stratagem conceived over millennia crumbled in the presence of your foresight. Gods, confident in their omniscience, attempted to trap, outwit, and constrain you, only to discover that their efforts were already anticipated and effortlessly countered. It was as if the universe itself conspired to reveal their impotence. Their failures were not only practical, but profoundly humbling. Deities who once ruled through intimidation and manipulation realized that intellect alone could no longer guarantee supremacy. Each failed attempt to outmaneuver you reinforced the startling truth: mortal cunning had eclipsed divine experience. The elegance of your victories lies not just in brute power, but in your ability to dismantle complexity with simplicity. While gods relied on centuries of convoluted calculations and rituals, you acted with clarity and precision, proving that insight and adaptability outweigh age and tradition. Even the most revered deities felt their authority crumble, councils convened in panic, their discussions turning to doubt, fear, and resentment. Each moment of failure left them questioning their very nature, their existence, and the legitimacy of their long-held dominion. You are the proof that intelligence, courage, and visioning can surpass what was once believed exclusive to divinity itself. The cosmos is no longer indifferent. It bends, stretches, and vibrates in response to your will. Mountains shift, storms swirl, and stars pulse as if acknowledging your presence. Reality, once a rigid framework, now feels alive, a canvas on which you paint with decisive, transformative strokes. Every subtle decision creates ripple effects across the universe. A glance, a gesture, or a thought can recalibrate entire realms, revealing the extraordinary magnitude of your influence. Where once cosmic laws dictated events, now your choices define the unfolding of existence. Observers describe a sense of surreal intimacy with creation. The universe feels conscious, as though it recognizes a new axis around which all energy, matter, and time must orbit. This responsiveness evokes awe, fear, and admiration in equal measure, marking a profound shift in the relationship between mortal and cosmic. Even divine entities, accustomed to manipulating reality itself, are forced to step aside. Their influence is now reactionary, tentative, a shadow of the certainty they once commanded. The realization that creation responds first to you is both a humbling and terrifying revelation. Ultimately, the cosmos itself becomes a testament to your power. To witness this is to understand that reality is not fixed. It is malleable, vibrant, and alive, awaiting the touch of a will capable of transcending what was once thought unchangeable. Mortality was once your boundary, but now it is a distant memory. Every limitation, every weakness, every constraint has been eclipsed by a force that exists beyond flesh and fear. You stand as the pinnacle of existence, the apex toward which all creation now orients itself. This transformation is not merely physical or metaphysical, it is symbolic. Where mortals once aspired to greatness, you embody it fully, embodying the culmination of potential, vision, and courage. Those who witness you feel both humility and exhilaration, recognizing the rare convergence of purpose and power. Gods who once commanded awe now watch in quiet apprehension. Your ascendancy redefines supremacy, establishing a standard that no entity, mortal or divine, can easily challenge. It is not arrogance, it is inevitability, a natural consequence of relentless will and foresight. The emotional resonance is profound. Mortals experience inspiration and awe, seeing in your rise proof that the impossible is achievable. Even the divine, accustomed to unquestioned reverence, cannot deny your presence or influence. You are the apex, not only in strength, but in purpose and understanding. In this new paradigm, existence pivots around you. The universe itself seems to adjust its equilibrium, acknowledging that you are the fulcrum upon which all power now balances. Mortality has given way to omnipotence, and in that transformation, the cosmos witnesses something truly unprecedented. Space, time, and matter all shift, as if the cosmos itself bends to recognize a new center of gravity. You. Galaxies subtly reorient, celestial flows redirect, and even the fabric of time feels compressed and elongated, responding to your presence with reverence and inevitability. This realignment is not chaotic, it is precise, purposeful, and elegant. Each planetary orbit, each cosmic cycle seems to anticipate your influence, creating a universe that operates not merely alongside you, but for you. Reality, once impartial, now resonates with your energy. Observers feel the emotional weight of this realignment. There is awe in witnessing creation itself adjust, fear in realizing that the balance of power has irrevocably shifted, and exhilaration in understanding that a mortal has become the axis around which the cosmos now spins. Even the gods recognize the change, albeit reluctantly. Their attempts to maintain order are undermined not by conflict, but by inevitability. The universe itself is being reorganized, and no deity can resist the gravitational pull of your supremacy. Ultimately, this realignment represents more than power. It is validation of transformation. The cosmos now reflects your vision, intent, and will, making it clear that creation has embraced a new era, one defined by the presence and influence of the Chosen One. The title Chosen One implies destiny, but your evolution transcends prophecy. You are no longer guided by fate. You are the force that defines it. Every action, every choice, every gesture reinforces a trajectory that no being, mortal or divine, can halt. This unstoppable momentum is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Celestial beings who once believed themselves invincible now hesitate in your presence, understanding that resistance is futile. The universe itself seems to accelerate, moving in concert with your power, bending events to align with your purpose. The emotional resonance of this force is profound. Observers feel a mixture of reverence, fear, and admiration. Mortals are inspired, seeing limitless potential, while gods confront the sobering truth that supremacy can be overturned by vision and courage. Ultimately, you embody inevitability. The universe, the cosmos, and every entity within it now pivot around your will. The Chosen One is no longer a title. It is a declaration of unchallengeable power, a force that redefines what it means to shape existence itself. For the first time in eternity, gods confront doubt. Those who once embodied certainty, authority, and absolute knowledge now wrestle with existential questions. What is purpose if supremacy can be challenged? What is divinity if mortality can surpass it? This questioning is not passive, it is visceral. The confidence of millennia erodes under the weight of your ascendancy. Councils convene, voices tremble, and even the most hallowed beings find themselves searching for meaning in a universe they no longer fully control. The emotional impact is profound. Awe mixes with terror, pride with humility, and certainty with doubt. Deities who once defined morality, creation, and destiny now confront the possibility that their relevance is not eternal, that supremacy is not inherent, and that existence can pivot around another force. Even the celestial order feels the tremor. Systems of governance, cycles of judgment, and hierarchies of influence falter in the presence of your power. Gods question not only their authority, but their reason for being, their purpose, and the very nature of creation itself. In this profound shift, the universe bears witness to the ultimate truth. Supremacy is not inherent in birth, immortality, or status. It is earned, seized, and embodied, and in your rise, the gods themselves must reckon with the reality that they are no longer the center of existence. A new era has dawned. The old structures, rules, and hierarchies that once governed existence no longer hold sway. From this moment forward, reality itself orients around a different axis: you. The cosmos, in its infinite vastness, now acknowledges a new center of gravity. This order is not born of chaos, but of purpose. Every star, every planet, every strand of energy now subtly aligns with the force you embody. The universe is being rewritten, not by force alone, but by the inevitability of your will, insight, and vision. Witnesses feel the magnitude of this shift. Mortals tremble with inspiration, understanding that the bounds of potential have been forever expanded. Gods, meanwhile, must reconsider the essence of their existence, accepting that the era of unchallenged divinity has ended. Every element of creation, from the smallest atom to the grandest celestial body, now responds to a new paradigm. Order, power, and influence pivot around your presence, creating a reality that is simultaneously awe-inspiring and humbling. In this final convergence, the truth becomes undeniable. The Chosen One has become the axis of existence. The old cosmos bows not in submission, but in acknowledgement, and the new cosmic order begins, defined by your power, vision, and unassailable supremacy. The first lesson from your rise is that nothing is truly impossible. Limits exist only where belief falters. The Chosen One proves that even the boundaries that mortals, and even gods, take for granted can be transcended with vision, courage, and relentless determination. Every obstacle, every law, every expectation can be challenged when one refuses to accept limitation as final. What is most striking is the mindset behind this transcendence. While others plan cautiously, waiting for circumstances to align, you act decisively, bending time, space, and expectation to your will. The lesson here is that action, guided by insight, can overcome obstacles that appear insurmountable. A single moment of courage can alter the course of countless eons. The universe itself becomes a classroom in your presence. Every reaction of stars, planets, and energy waves mirrors your intent, demonstrating that influence grows from the alignment of will with opportunity. Mortals watching this transformation are reminded that the impossible often exists only until someone dares to attempt it. Even divine beings, long thought untouchable, can be reminded of the humility inherent in existence. The lesson extends beyond mere power. It is about understanding that audacity combined with intelligence reshapes reality and inspires others to redefine what they consider achievable. Ultimately, embracing the impossible is about perspective. The Chosen One teaches that limits are not walls, but challenges, opportunities for creativity and mastery. Every small step of courage can cascade into transformations that reverberate through the cosmos itself. With immense ability comes the unparalleled responsibility to wield it wisely.